Hello guys, welcome back to NieR Replicant and the channel. On the last episode we did some more quests because I had to go back to Facade. Because Yona wanted a watermelon. Then she wanted a pumpkin, but thankfully I could go to the village for that. I didn't have to trek all the way back through the desert. Also I killed some wolves because, you know, wolf hide. And since I was in the area I thought I'd, you know, finish that quest and get it done. And then I went to the junk heap. I couldn't upgrade any of my weapons. Also spoke to Popola. We got a weird letter. Which kind of matched our weird dream we had. And now we're off to the Forest of Myth. Because that is our next destination. And I'm running away from these things. Get on my boar. Let's go. Get on my boar to the Forest of Myth. There's a lot of shades in this place. There really is a lot. Oh look, it's another boar. We should have boar versus boar. I love how the boar comes back. But I think you can get an item from it anyway. I think that's why it comes back. Go away, Shades. No one cares about you. Right, here we are at the Forest of Myth. Get ready for a lot of text. Get ready for a lot of reading. It's going to be a lot of reading. Here we are. The Forest of Myth. As I said, get ready for a lot of reading. And a few riddles.
It sure is quiet here.
Such silence bodes ill. There's trouble on the way. I'm certain.
Weiss, there's always trouble.
A little optimism now and then wouldn't hurt, Weiss.
Such cheek.
There's trouble everywhere we go. You should know this by now. There's also items in here. Oh, I don't need the medicinal herb. Oh, there's me trying to pick it up, and I'm just like, huh? Can't pick it up. It's like, oh, wait, I don't need it. Right, let's get this started, shall we then? Save the game. Cool. Right. Let's get our reading glasses on.
Words? What do you mean?
Contagious words. Those who dream.
He said the dream word. He said dream.
Those who dream?
Hold a moment.
Uh-oh. You've just caught the dream virus. Weiss's voice rose in a quizzical way.
It is not quizzical.
What's going on?
The villager's body shuddered as he slowly opened his eyes.
Perhaps we should start by asking this man. Who are you?
We heard something happened to this village, so we came to see if we could help.
The mayor stared at Mackie and Weiss.
If you can speak to me, I must have caught you in my dream.
Well, fudge. The mayor explained. In the past weeks, a mysterious disease called the DeathDream had spread across the Forest of Myth. Those who caught it were cursed to fall asleep and live forever within the world of their own dreams. For some people that might be a good thing. They might like that. The village mayor had determined that the DeathDream was spread from person to person by spoken words. But before he could learn more, the disease took him as well. Although, would it be nice to live in your own dream? Yes and no. Because it's all a dream, it's not real. Oh, it's a good question, that, actually. I guess some people would like to live in their own dreams, but at the same time, it's not real. But then it would feel like it's real to them, wouldn't it? Right, we're not going to go into this now because we'll be here forever. Weiss stared at the mayor, his mouth twitching slightly.
See here.
He
Are
said,
you saying that we have been absorbed into your dream?
Well, yes. I think you have.
In other words, we've caught the DeathDream?
Before the mayor could confirm Mackie's suspicion, Weiss exploded with rage.
Ridiculous. Preposterous. Completely unfathomable on every conceivable level. I don't even recall.
Oh, Weiss.
That's just how the DeathDream works.
Yeah. Though polite, the mayor was clearly trying to brush aside the book's remarks.
My remarks are not to be brushed aside, fool.
Weiss is having an argument with the narrator. The mayor twisted his mouth into an embarrassed grimace, then quickly changed the subject to who Mackie had seen and what they had discussed since coming to the village.
Something there must have caused you to enter my dream. A certain conversation, a specific word, something.
Mackie and Weiss racked their brains but could find no easy solutions. There were simply too many words to consider, too much random chatter, too many meaningless conversations.
Weiss does not engage in meaningless conversations.
The mere suggestion that Weiss chose his words carelessly seemed to sting his pride.
It does not seem to sting my pride, you bloated gasbag of...
Hey! Don't be calling me a bloated gas bag, Weiss! I'm not the one who wrote this!
It has demolished it utterly.
Irritated, Weiss looked skyward, as if searching for answers in the heavens.
I was doing no such thing. Just leave me alone.
I love Weiss. He's brilliant. The anger created by his harsh words bled over to Mackie like a contagion. I probably pronounced that wrong. Wait! Said Mackie suddenly. Did someone just say contagion? Yes, I believe so. What of it? Well, that villager told us to watch out for contagious words, right? The mayor leaned forward with renewed interest, pushing a startled Weiss aside in the process. Also just saying, I can't do a good Weiss impression, so shush. I'll try, but I can't do a good Weiss impression. He must have said something, right? Asked the mayor. Some specific combination of words? What was it? It was about dreaming, or something that dreams, or... Oh, what the hell was it? A sheep! Cried Weiss suddenly. That was terrible. I sounded more like fudging Vegeta. Blurting out the first thing that popped into his head. The others stared at him for a moment before slowly shaking their heads. After a few more minutes of thought, Mackie's face suddenly lit up. I remember, he said. Those who dream. That's what he said. I'm sure of it. At this, the mayor produced a thick sheaf of papers from his pocket. He flipped through them a few times while finally nodding his approval at Mackie. That sounds right, he said, as a stray sheet of paper fluttered to the ground. My notes also mentioned something about that. I bet it was the last thing you heard before you fell asleep. The mayor shook his head, his warm pencil stub tracing lines across a lone piece of paper. For the last month, I've done nothing but study the disease we call the DeathDream, he said. I mean, I'm the mayor, right? It's my job to protect people from whatever comes along. But I never expected a couple of outsiders to start entering people's dreams. The mayor paused, a grimace crossing his face. I should probably be taking notes or something. Weiss immediately fired back. No, I can't. I can't do a Weiss impression. I applaud the force of will it takes to research a disease in your dreams, he said. But perhaps we should bend your efforts to escaping this place instead of trying to understand it. That is terrible. If you can deal with my terrible Weiss impression, I'll carry on doing it. The mayor's hand tightened around his pencil, snapping off the tip. I've tried to escape. From the very first moment I realised I was locked inside my own dream, I've been looking for a way out. But I don't think it exists. I mean, this is my dream, right? If there was an exit, I'd know about it. He paused for a moment, his unfocused eyes staring at nothing. My village was beautiful, he said, to no one in particular, and it was filled with the most wonderful people you could ever hope to meet. But once this disease took hold, things changed. It's like someone took a sponge and soaked all the colour out of our lives. I just want us to be whole again. I want us to be free. And I won't stop trying until it happens. Maki nodded in agreement. Huh? Wait a second. I didn't nod. Look, if we can be of any help, said Maki, just ask.
Now hold on. I did not just say that.
Wait, that wasn't Weiss.
Silence!
Cried Weiss. Ignore that last one. That wasn't Weiss. I thought it was. Ignore that. The Grimoire looked from Maki to the mayor and back again, his face filling with confidence.
Grimoire Weiss's face is always confident. Thank you very much. Now see here, Mayor. You told us that nothing can exist in this dream without your knowing of it. But yet you seem surprised to see us when we first arrived, yes? God, it's such a terrible such a terrible impression. Oh man, it's so terrible. The mayor slowly raised his head, realization dawning on his face. Oh my god, he said. You're right! You're right! I had no idea you were coming! The human imagination is a limitless engine, said Weiss, and dreams are the fuel. If you can imagine an exit, then it must be so. With your permission, we shall search it out.
Thank you, said the mayor. I don't know how I can repay you.
Payment is not required. We are as eager as you to be done with this place.
The mayor suddenly felt as if he could breathe again. He'd almost forgotten what it was like. Good luck, you two, he called at the departing forms of Maki and Weiss. We're all counting on you. As Maki slowly faded into the misty forest, the mayor was struck by a sense of deja vu. I saw this man once before, he thought. But where? Maki's mood darkened as he trudged through the forest. Hours earlier, when the beauty of the place was still a new thing, he'd been confident they could get in, find the exit, and be home in time for dinner. But the deeper they went, the more the forest closed in around him. The mist made it difficult to see more than a foot in any direction, and moss-covered rocks seemed determined to twist his ankle. More than once he'd been forced to steady himself on the rough bark of a tree, and his hands now left small trails of blood on everything he touched. Additionally, Weiss was proving to be a spectacularly poor travelling companion. Unhindered by either terrain or physical effort, he spent most of his time urging Maki to pick up the pace, and grumbling about their slow progress. Finally, after Weiss muttered something about legless turtles being more adept at navigating the environment, Maki snapped. Okay, Weiss, cram it for a second, would you? You don't have to walk. Maki leaned against a tree and tried to stretch the knots from his back. How can this stupid forest be so big? He muttered to himself. The moment the words tumbled from his mouth, a cacophony of insects sprung to life. Every imaginable form of buzz, click, and hiss roared out at a volume that rattled his teeth. Maki slapped his hands over his ears and screamed to be heard. Weiss, what's going on? Maki could see Weiss's mouth moving, but he might as well have been shouting in a tornado. The insect screamed, the forest howled, and then, just as Maki's ears seemed ready to tear from his head and go running for cover, the sound diminished. Hesitantly, he removed the hand from his left ear and listened to the creatures in the woods. Shrii! 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 God, more horrible impressions. That sounds like such a wally. Oh man. Woo woo whoopah! Woo woo whoopah! Oh my god, I'm sorry that I sound so stupid. Shik shik seek. Shik 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 seek. Oh man. I'm sorry for your ears right now. I apologise. As the insect symphony dimmed another decibel, Mackie began to detect patterns in the sound. This isn't random, he thought. It's not just white noise, it's something else. The insects weren't just calling out, they were asking a question. 1 with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it?
By my pages, is this a riddle?
I guess so. I mean, it feels sort of forced, but maybe it's the key to getting out of this place.
Then I leave it to you to answer.
1 with it is lacking. 2 with it is ideal. 3 with it is dangerous. What is it? Oh, fudging secret, isn't it? Fudging seesaw. 3 on a seesaw is quite dangerous, really. No, it's a secret, isn't it? Because 1 with it is lacking. 2 with... Yeah. It's a secret. I'm pretty sure it's secret. If I've got this wrong, I don't know. Inwardly furious that Weiss left the task to him, Mackie sighed and gave the only answer that made sense. It's a secret. Right? The sound of the insects stopped as suddenly as it began. The forest undergrowth parted before Mackie like a rippling wave, opening a new path.
These forest arthropods are making a road for us,
said Weiss with glee. Pleased at passing the test, Mackie moved on with new intensity. The path offered his body relief from the undergrowth, but gave even greater cheer to his mind. As long as they were on a path, their journey had purpose. I guess this forest has accepted us, huh? Said Mackie after a bit. Weiss spun around to face his companion.
Do not mistake the will of this forest for some happy pet you can suddenly befriend. We have no idea where this path leads.
As Weiss finished speaking, the pair turned a corner and found themselves facing a clear forest spring. Smiling, Mackie picked up a small rock and sent it skipping across the surface of the water.
Good heavens,
said Weiss. His surprise was understandable. Each time the rock struck the surface of the water, a musical note rang out. When the rock finally stopped moving and sank to the bottom of the spring, the ripples it left behind came together to form words. I enter through the window, but break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I?
Absurdly easy, barked Weiss. Now, answer it.
Mackie grit his teeth and tried not to reach out and strangle his companion. He's right after all. This one is pretty easy. I enter through the window, but break no glass. When night falls, I vanish. What am I? Well, birds don't vanish, but they also would break the glass. A letter you don't go through the window is sunlight. A letter doesn't go through the window and it doesn't vanish in the night. Birds don't vanish either. It's sunlight. It's sunlight. And I'm going with sunlight. Sunlight. A plume of water suddenly burst from the spring. Sunlight filtered through the trees and reflected off the plume, creating a shimmering rainbow that spanned the entire horizon.
In all my years, said Weiss softly, I have never seen such a sight. Perhaps I have misunderstood the intentions of this place.
Hey, look, cried Mackie, awaking Weiss from his daze. There's a house or something over there. Glancing in the direction of his friend's extended hand, Weiss saw a small cottage nestled among the trees. That's weird, isn't it, Weiss? I mean, who would build a house all the way out here? Mackie walked over and pounded on the door. After a minute of solid banging, the door cracked open and a small man peered out. His body was cloaked from neck to toe in a large black cape, while his face was obscured by mist. Began Mackie, but before he could get any further, the cloaked man held a hand up and began speaking. I have 4 legs in the morning and 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? Mackie tried to ask the cloaked man who he was and what he was doing here, but he simply repeated the question.
If we wish to engage this man in conversation, said Weiss, it seems we must answer his riddle.
Yeah, I suppose, said Mackie. Well, at least it's an easy one. I have 4 legs in the morning and 2 at noon, but end the night with 3. What am I? They say it's easy, but I'm not sure. A man, a demon, an angel. Is it a man? It's a man, isn't it? It's not a demon or an angel, it's man. A man. The mist dissolved from the cloaked figure as he spoke the single word. Correct. Yes. Correct. With that, the man flung his garment aside, revealing his true identity. "You're the mayor!" cried Mackie. The small man slowly shook his head. "I am not the mayor you know. Now listen to my words. Long ago I saw a version of you that was not yourself." Sorry? What's that mean? "It will make sense in time. At present, I simply congratulate you on cracking the seal of the DeathDream. Now you must go to the person at the forest entrance." With that, the man turned on his heel and slammed the door behind him. As Mackie watched, mist seeped up from the ground and enveloped the cottage, erasing it from existence. When Mackie and Weiss returned to the forest entrance, they found the mayor leaning against a tree. As soon as he caught sight of the duo, he sprang to his feet and scrambled over to them. "Good gravy," he cried. "You made it! You actually made it back!" His left hand grasped Mackie's and pumped it so fiercely it threatened to dislodge it from the socket, while his right seized Weiss by the cover and swung him through the air.
"Gah! By the heavens, stop shaking me, fool! We have not even told you if we were successful or not."
The mayor smiled broadly and shook his head. "I'm just happy you're alive. I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Mackie withdrew himself from the mayor's eager handshake with a slight smile. "We broke the DeathDream seal," he said. "At least, I think we did." The mayor's face beamed as Mackie filled him in on the details. When the tale was done, the three of them lay down on the forest ground and fell asleep. Mackie cocked his head. "Okay, hang on a second. This is crazy. Why would we just lay down and go to sleep?"
"Cease your endless prattling and go to sleep, fool. Fighting against the rules of this place is futility itself."
Mackie and the mayor obediently reclined atop the grassy earth.
"Have you forgotten," continued Weiss, "it is words that control the DeathDream. Words that allow us to move from place to place. No matter how unnatural they seem, the words are absolute. Therefore, if the words tell us to sleep, then sleep we shall. And once we do, the story will continue."
With that, the trio found their eyes growing heavy, their breath slowing. This is the first time," began the mayor. "The first time I have felt tired since I was imprisoned here." His words were cut off by a loud, long yawn, and he remembered nothing more. They might have slept for an hour or a year. When they awoke, things had a slightly more real quality to them. The mist felt thicker, the leaves greener. It was clear that they had awakened from their dream. Mackie shook the mayor's shoulder gently. "Good news," he said. "I think we made it." "Oh, wow," said the mayor in an awed voice. "We did it! I'm back!" He blinked once, and then again, as if not quite believing the sight before him. You two have no idea how much this means. The DeathDream was spreading through our village, and I wanted to... Well, I thought I could figure out how to stop it, but I guess that wasn't the case. I must have caught the disease and become trapped in my own dream." The mayor started to stand, then collapsed back to the earth. He stared at his legs as if trying to remember how they worked, then glanced at Mackie and shrugged. Without a word, the young man reached down and pulled the mayor to his feet. "Real life may take some time getting used to," said the mayor as a wry smile crossed his lips.
"You shall relearn in short order, I am sure," said Weiss. "For now, you should return to your home and rest."
"No," said the mayor, swaying on unsteady feet. "No, I can't. Some of the villagers are still trapped in the DeathDream. I have to save them." The mayor slowly made his way to the divine tree in the centre of the village, then bowed his head and prayed silently. "This is a holy tree," he explained when the prayer was finished. "It's the guardian of our village's history and memories."
"Superstition will only make our mission harder," muttered Weiss. "We should not put our faith in the gods."
The mayor shook his head. "Not the gods, the words. Legend says that our tree is home to a powerful magic known as a sealed verse." Mackie and Weiss could not contain their surprise. It seemed a goal had been found in the most unexpected of places.
"I say," muttered Weiss, "this is certainly a stroke of luck."
As the three of them said their goodbyes, Mackie mentioned the strange man who had given them the third riddle and the mysterious words he had left with them. "I once saw a version of you that was not yourself," muttered the mayor. "What in the world does that mean?" Lost in thought, he stared into space for a long moment. "You know," he said softly, "this is going to sound odd, but I had a feeling I'd seen you before too." Mackie tried to keep a straight face and failed, but the mayor didn't seem to notice. "Deja vu, right? Anyway, I figure it's just some kind of illusion created by the DeathDream. It probably doesn't mean anything." Mackie gave the mayor a nod and a smile, but inwardly his thoughts were racing. There's something wrong about the mayor and his words. And what exactly is going on here? That riddle would prove to be the most difficult one of all.
Oh, thank you so much.
God, I can rest my voice now. Fudge me.
Now I can finally return to a normal life.
This is one of the most bizarre diseases I have ever encountered.
I know.
Also, I apologise for my very bad Grimoire Weiss impression. I'm sorry, but I had to try and do it. Just to distinguish Weiss, you know, when he talks. But, you know, I tried. It was horrible, and I apologise for it. Oh, dark execution magic. Oh, it's that one. Oh, it's the one I like.
For a sealed verse, that didn't take much effort.
No, it didn't. It really didn't.
Yes, all a touch too easy, if you ask me. It's almost as if someone was guiding us to this village.
Don't overthink advice.
Maybe someone was. Who knows? These villagers have something as well.
This person must be dreaming too.
It would appear that way, yes.
Uh-oh. Right, we're going into the villager's dream now.
Go back there.
Looks like we've got to help some more people with the death dream.
Perhaps you should spend less time complaining and more time getting on with the mission.
Yeah.
I should have really rested my throat a bit more before I did this, but oh well. Time for dream number 2. I breathe air scented with death and resist the urge to laugh, for I know it will sound like the words of a madman. How long have I been in this fresh hell? My box, my prison, is tucked beneath a stairway in a long unused catacombs of some infinite castle. Outside I hear the sounds of a funeral dirge that plays without end. Light has no place here. Wind is a forgotten friend. I pray for death to come, but he forsakes me. Time passes, and eternity slips by in a single tick of the clock. Someone knocks on my prison. "Anyone there?" I hear an unfamiliar voice say. "My saviour." I claw at the door of my jail, embedding thick splinters under my ragged nails. I scream for help. I laugh. I sob. Surely this is a product of my addled mind. Surely it cannot be true. "Help me," I cry. "For the love of all gods, help me." Impossibly, I hear the sound of a lock being torn out and falling to the floor. As the door slowly creaks open, I have just enough time to see a silver-haired boy in a floating book before the light pours inside. My eyes, accustomed to the blackness, explode with pain, and I am forced to turn away. "Who are you?" I asked, shaking hands covering my face. "How have you come to this place?"
I am Grimoire Weiss. This is Mackie. Long have we been searching for you. Now come, stand. We shall awaken from this nightmare together.
The one known as Mackie extends his hand and pulls me from the cell. Though my eyes are slow to adjust to freedom, my ears are keen as ever, and they recognise the staccato sounds of heavy rain. I never thought to hear that again, I whisper.
Would that this were not such a terrible storm, said Grimoire Weiss. Look at your feet.
I force my eyes open to see water pooling around my ankles and lapping at my shins. There's so much of it.
Yes, and more comes each moment we delay. If we do not make good our escape, we shall all drown in this castle. We know you are weak, but you are our only hope to survive this place.
Time, that long-forgotten friend, made itself known again. I nodded my head and swore to save my rescuers, no matter the cost. The castle catacombs are a maze, twisting upon themselves like an endless entrails of a giant. I squint down the dim corridors. and proceed north. At the end of the corridor, I find a row of 20 gorgeous canopied beds resting on top of carpet of velvet. All are covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. Searching for the door to the next room, I come across a shapeless mass of grey matter. It has been shoved against the side of the wall, and despite my fever, I think I see the outlines of a door just beyond. When I reach out a finger and touch a piece of the mass, it turns to dust and drifts away on the wind. Realization slowly dawns, and I fall to my knees and weep. Corpses. I face a mountain of charred and crumbling corpses. I look from it to the beds and back again until the horror dawns full upon me. Someone has piled these bodies into a tower and set them ablaze. Whether they were alive or dead, I do not know, and sanity would not permit me to consider the proposition further. I make a sound, whether scream or laughter I cannot be certain. Then my mind grants me merciful blackness, and I find myself opening the door and leave the most terrible of rooms. I squint down the dim corridors and... east or south? Let's go south. I squint down the dim corridors and proceed north. At the end of the path, the waters rise to my waist, exhausting me both physically and spiritually. I pray that this is the way out. Eventually I can stand the sight of the waters no longer, so I turn my eyes upward. Imagine my surprise when I see a series of paintings hanging on a faded plaster wall. Each depicts a person in the prime of life, clad in clothing of the highest quality. The styles, however, are strange to me, leading me to believe that these people had lived here long, long ago. One subject wears an outfit that particularly catches my eye. It is constructed of a thin, breezy cloth and decorated with the motif of flowers and birds, while encircling the figure's waist is a leather belt of the most perfect construction. It is a stunning costume even by modern standards. As I gaze at the portrait, I am struck by my desire to touch it with my own hands. Yet as I extend a single finger to the painting, I am gripped by the most unpleasant feeling. Staring closely at the image, I see it bend and warp into the shape of another figure. Something behind the picture is pointing at me. Is it another prisoner? A fellow inmate trapped for eternity in this place? I cannot let it pass, and so I seize the portrait with both hands and throw it into the water. The wall is hollow behind the painting, and inside I can just make out a body. Whether or not this is a prisoner, there would be no rescue. The poor soul is long dead. Scraps of clothing lie on the floor around the bones. Only a small amount of the fabric has survived, but it features the same delicate designs that were depicted in the portrait. I have been admiring a row of corpses blocked from view by portraits of each victim at their pinnacle. Enough! Shielding my eyes, I paddle forward through the water. I squint down the dim corridors. Do you know what? I don't even know what it is. The water has risen to my chin and now laps greedily at my mouth and nose. "You dumb butt!" shouts Mackie, sure he decides to see more, but the rest of his insults cut short by the rising water. Grimoire Weiss, wet and tattered, floats on the water's surface. It is already too late for him. This wasn't... Oh. I died! I died. Whoops. I died. Right, I'm going to have to do that again then. Oh, good. Right, I squint down the dim corridors and proceed south. East. Oh, wait, this is it. I've actually just found the right... That was that easy! Sorry, I just kind of skipped that first bit. I find myself in a great hall with only the sounds of rain for comfort. The waterlogged red carpet squishes beneath my feet as I approach the centre of the room. Once there, I behold a beautiful dining table upon which rests china and silver of the most finest construction, as well as the remains of a fantastic feast. As my eyes continue to adjust, I see many chairs surrounding the table, each holding a dinner guest. Noticing movement, I approach the chair at the table's head, but as the truth of the matter dawns on me, I recoil in horror. The host of the feast is a corpse, as are all the invited guests. An army of foul, wriggly insects have made homes in their remains, and this is the movement I saw. This once splendid feast was now nothing more than a requiem for the damned. I take a moment to steady my shaking hands, then slowly back away from the table. Desperate to lose sight of the abomination before me, my gaze lands on the chairs upon which the dead are seated. This is a mistake, for the chairs prove to be even more terrible than the feast itself. Each one is covered in a layer of spikes that run from the seat up the back and down the arms. This explains the colour of the carpet beneath my feet. I can only pray that the unfortunate diners were dead when the meal began. For if not, it is a simple task to envision the agonised screams that must have sprung forth from their mouths. My mind grasps frantically at the possibility that these souls had committed some terrible crime for which this was punishment. Though in truth, I suspect they had committed no crime at all. There would be no tomorrow for these unfortunates. This was their last supper. I squint down the dim corridors. Not again. Against all hope, we make it to the front door. Break it down, someone cries, and so I give myself to the effort. In tandem with Mackie and Grimoire Weiss, I slam my body against the thick, sturdy door. On the third try it gives way, and we find ourselves sprawled on the ground outside the castle. The storm is in retreat. The clouds above are still dark and foreboding, but to the west I can see a thin shimmer of sunlight trying to break through. How can I thank you? I cry as tears join the rain on my cheeks. I would surely have died in there. Looking down, I suddenly noticed that my dress is in tatters, and sheepishly tried to cover my exposed skin.
Your dress, asked Weiss. Then you are a woman, madam.
I am. I profited to a smile. I suppose that comes as some of a surprise, seeing as how I exist only in the form of words. I can see that the one known as Mackie is disappointed that the torn dress will be given no further description, but he hides it well. With a nod and a shrug, the three of us set forth to our awakening. But behind us, an awakening of another kind is taking place. Black smoke fills the abandoned castle, providing the countless damned souls inside with their final shroud. After a moment, the castle's windows shatter with a mighty roar. A fresh breeze blows through the hallways and corridors, clearing the smoke away for good. As we watch in awe, uncountable black shadows slowly flicker to life, crossing to and fro in front of the broken windows. The castle's dead have awakened to their new life as shades. Well, that was a depressing dream.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Hopefully there will be no labyrinth.
That was a depressing dream, that one.
I hear that.
That's that one done. Right, I've got one more. My throat hurts. I can barely talk right now, but we've got one more to do. Got this guy.
And another victim is
Oh, man.
is tried.
Well, you try talking this, Weiss.
I
I'm going to need a drink after this.
into all this word stuff, Weiss.
Even I have my exceptions. Now let's
That was a really depressing dream that woman had. Now let's see what this guy has as a dream. A colony of massive sculptures was visible in the distance, their tall forms scraping against the sky. Weiss and Mackie had never seen such a sight, and their eyes widened as they tried to take it in.
Those buildings must be huge if we can see them from this far away.
So you speak now? Really?
What do you think, Weiss?
As Weiss considered his answer, the sun beat down on them with renewed ferocity.
perhaps they are some manner of mirage.
Under this heat, a mirage or two would hardly be an unexpected sight.
Mackie nodded and wiped the sweat off his brow, leaving a trail of sand in its place. He thought he had never been so thirsty. The ancient road on which they walked was black and cracked with age. Here and there, thin wisps of grass pushed up through the rocky surface, as if to find those who had laid this material down over their home. The heat reflecting from the road made Mackie lightheaded. His feet hurting, he crouched down to rest. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Is someone playing a joke on us or what? The complaining had already begun. Weiss tried not to let his eyes roll too much.
A joke?
He said.
No, no joke. This road leads to the City of Art. Perhaps the path itself is simply some manner of grand artistic work.
You don't sound very sure of yourself there.
Perhaps not, but thinking of it in this way might make it easier for you to bear.
Mackie glanced at Weiss's grinning face, shook his head, and resumed walking. As time passed, Mackie's feet grew more painful, and his throat drier than he thought possible. Do you know what? I'm feeling that right now. My throat is dry. All this talking. But I'm trying to get this all in one episode, because it's better to do it in one episode than, like, over a few episodes. Just get it all done, out of the way. But my throat is really dry right now. I think it's this bad Grimoire Weiss fudging impression I'm trying to do. It's making my throat even drier. He tried not to look further than the next step ahead, because the bright sunlight made him hesitant to trust his own senses.
We are definitely getting closer,
said Weiss in an effort to cheer his companion.
Yes, this much is certain.
Encouraged, Mackie lifted his gaze. Suddenly he stopped walking, choosing instead to stand in the middle of the road with his mouth and eyes wide open and his finger pointing in the distance. Water! He cried. It's water!
Water?
Asked Weiss.
Preposterous! I don't see any water.
Over there, just ahead of us. Look! The sun is reflecting off it. Without waiting for a response, Mackie sprang to life and bounded towards the sight. What in the... There was no water. There was nothing but sand in every direction. Mackie closed his eyes and sighed as Weiss phoned up behind him and chuckled softly.
I believe this is known as a mirage, he said. Many a desert traveller has spoken of such things.
Mackie shook his head, bewildered. Suddenly he pointed off in the distance, his eyes wide once more. Wait, there it is! I just missed it! Look, it's right there! Mackie sprinting off again, leaving Weiss with no choice but to follow. After a few minutes of running, Mackie came to a halt. I could have sworn it was right around here. Confused, he put his hands up to his eyes and rubbed them vigorously. As soon as he stopped, he noticed a blue, shimmering pool of clear water just over the next rise. With a shout, he bounded off in search of it. The chase continued for nearly an hour, until an exasperated Weiss finally flew up to Mackie and struck him in the face with his cover.
Enough, you blithering idiot! Stop this at once! There is no water here!
Mackie's face clouded. There isn't?
There is not, and perhaps next time you will listen to me when I tell you as much.
Weiss paused for a moment, then continued speaking in a slightly kinder tone.
However, I suppose this mad chase was not altogether wasted. It seems we've arrived in the City of Art.
Mackie looked up. Stretched out before him was a row of impossibly tall sculptures. Their journey was at an end. They're huge, cried Mackie, completely forgetting the heat and pain of the past few hours. I've never seen anything so big. Each sculpture was formed from roughly the same shape, a tall rectangle that stretched up towards the sky, but that is where the similarities ended. Most were covered with panes of glass that reflected light in 1,000 directions, while other scenes being nothing but frames of steel. Some had tall spires on their tops, while others possessed triangular caps. What kind of city is this? Said Mackie. Where are the people? Where are the houses?
Perhaps the land is intended exclusively for artistic use.
The debate continued as they made their way through the city. Miracles of artistry were everywhere. Great iron crates with wheels sat silent on steel rails. Beautifully carved works with lights of red amber and green dangled over every street. As they moved away from the massive sculptures, they found a great array of smaller ones. Some were covered in glass or brick, but many were composed of materials they had never before encountered. The sheer variety of colours and styles was staggering. Unable to find a theme or purpose to the abstract works around them, Mackie and Weiss eventually fell silent. On the outskirts of the city, they discovered 3 sculptures in the shape of humans. Mackie uttered a sigh of relief as he approached them. Finally, I was getting tired of modern art. The 3 statues were indistinguishable except for a single word chiselled into their right arms. One read Alpha, one read Beta, and the final one read Gamma. As Mackie moved to touch the nearest statue, a bird flew from the top of one of the sculptures. Alighting on the statue's shoulder, it emitted a brief, beautiful song that took the form of words. Only one form is real, the others are false. The real form will always speak the truth. The false ones will only speak lies. With that, The bird departed. As if on cue, the three statues shuddered to life, acquiring colour and form as they began to breathe. "Hey, look at that," said Mackie. "They're alive." The triplets bowed low before Mackie. "Please," said Alpha, "you have to get me out of this nightmare. I am real." "Stop lying," said Beta. He turned to Mackie and threw his hands in the air. "Alpha's a fake. You know I'm the real one." "What a load of crap," said Gamma. "Beta is a fake. Everyone knows I'm the only real one around here." Their respective pleas given, the three statues returned to their frozen state as silence once again enveloped the city. When you consider all the statements, only one of them could be the real thing.
"When you consider all of the statements, only one of them could be the real thing," said Weiss.
Mackie furrowed his eyebrows and considered his answer. "Only one form is real, the others are false. The real form will always speak the truth. The false ones will only speak lies." The real one is Alpha, the real one is Beta, the real one is Gamma. I don't know, you know. Is it? It's Alpha, isn't it? Because Alpha's the first one. I actually don't know. Do you know what? I've done this before and I've forgotten. It's Alpha, isn't it? Because that's the original. Because you go Alpha, Beta, Gamma. It's Alpha's the original, isn't it? And then then you get Beta, and then you get Gamma. Or am I looking at this completely wrong? I mean, what's the worst comes to worst? I get a game over. And I have to start again. The real one is Alpha. The eyes of the statue shone with an eerie light. The light grew stronger and stronger until Mackie and Weiss were forced to turn away.
It would seem.
Right, so that didn't work. Right. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's one of three. It's one of two now. It's one of two now, so if I get this wrong, the other one's right. Let's go for Beta. The real one is Beta. So it was Beta! Fudge's sake! I was looking at it all wrong. It was bloody Beta. Beta is the real one. Weiss is nodding. The real one is Beta. Though Mackie's voice betrayed a notable lack of confidence, he was relieved to see Weiss nodding at him.
"If Alpha were telling the truth," began Weiss in the dry tones of Electra, "Beta and Gamma would be fakes. But in that case, Gamma's claim that Beta is fake would be the truth, even though Gamma is a liar. Therefore that theory crumbles. Now let us presume that Gamma has spoke the truth. That makes Alpha and Beta liars. In this situation, however, Beta is calling Alpha a liar, which would leave us with two statues telling the truth."
Oh, God, I didn't look into it that much. Oh. Oh, no.
Finally, let us assume that Beta is telling the truth. If so, Alpha and Gamma's lies would make sense, therefore Beta must be real.
As Weiss finished his explanation, Alpha and Gamma crumbled soundlessly into dust, while Beta sprang to life once more. "Congratulations, villager!"
"Congratulations, villager,"
said Weiss in a cheerful voice.
"The time to awaken has arrived."
"Thank you for saving me," cried the villager. He dropped to his knees and bowed his head as low as it could go before an uncomfortable Mackie pulled him to his feet. "Why did you have a dream like this?"
"What? What'd you say? Why did you have a dream like this?" asked Weiss. "Have you been to this city before?"
The villager slowly looked around at the bizarre objects and sculptures that dotted the landscape, then shook his head. I don't think so. I mean, it's impossible, right? There's no way I could have ever been to a place like this. But at the same time, I feel like I've seen it before." "Deja vu," muttered Mackie, "just like the mayor." The vague sense of unease that struck Mackie during the mayor's dream spread once more through his mind.
That was rough.
I am positive I have seen
Now, I can rest my voice.
Okay, that's enough. Don't need you getting all weird on me too.
Fudge me.
Okay, there. Now all the villagers can wake up, right?
Yes. If the mayor's
My voice, my throat. I need a drink.
I think I have had enough wordplay to last a lifetime.
Yeah, so have I, Vice. So have I.
You're telling me. Anyway, let's go see the mayor.
Oh man, I'm so glad that's done now. My voice, my throat, everything. I just didn't get a game over for getting that one wrong.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mate, you owe me like a lot for
I have
this.
something for you.
See, it was worth doing it.
Wow, this looks valuable.
Got a weapon out of it.
Of course. It's apparently a weapon of some renown, but we have little use for it.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you again for everything.
You're welcome. Right, I think my voice needs a rest after that. That was intense. I haven't spoken that much in a video for like ever. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end the video there and give my throat a nice rest. So I'll catch you guys next time. And sorry for my bad Grimoire Weiss impression. Keep on rocking, guys.